were just rocks. So we said, give us the rocks. And the rocks is now going to be an international tourism attraction.
For somebody to put some time into it like that, you got to be real. That's a big sacrifice to step out by yourself.
I dedicated 5 years in getting this to go from vision to reality. We needed to have public and private partnership.
All I saw was a bunch of rocks. I'm like, how you gonna put a Walk of Fame right here?
20 years we've been trying to figure out what to do with that particular lot.
What in the world? Like, it's just rocks, Commissioner Reece. So I'm like, what, they building or what? You doing what? What is this? What is she doing?
Just listening to Alicia tell me how it's gonna be, I'm like, we can never make this happen.
Commissioner Alicia Reece had her ups and downs during this entire process. She even had to have knee surgery.
God prepared me for this journey, and I didn't even know it a long time ago.
Commissioner Reece told me, go to Kinko's and print off a flyer. And I mean, this is the morning of.
People from all over the world will come here and understand the stories behind our legends and our icons. We created the culture. It came from right here.
Okay, because I thought we had to take this off. So they didn't hear nothing I said on social media. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're going to run this back. I don't know where my Christian is today. He's not here today, my engineer. We're going to run everything back that was on the radio. Thank everybody who came out for the breast cancer awareness. Can we hear it now? Okay. What I want to do is take a quick break because I got to gather myself because I don't do well when my engineers is not on point. Okay. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back. I understand everything I just said. You could hear me on the radio, but you could not hear me on. Can we go back to hold on. Let's stop right here for a minute. Let's stop for a second. Can we put the can you put the screensaver back on, please? Okay, let's take a quick break. Turn off my mic.
Started with just rocks. So we said, give us the rocks. And the rocks is now going to be an international tourism attraction.
For somebody to put some time into it like that, you got to be real. That's a big sacrifice to step out by yourself.
I dedicated 5 years in getting this to go from vision to reality. We needed to have public and private partnership.
All I saw was a bunch of rocks. I'm like, how you gonna put a Walk of Fame right here?
For 20 years, we've been trying to figure out what to do with that particular lot.
What in the world? Like, it's just rocks, Commissioner Reece. So I'm like, what, they building a what? She doing what? What is this? What is she doing?
Just listening to Alicia tell me how it's gonna be, I'm like, we can never make this happen.
Commissioner Alicia Reece had her ups and downs during this entire process. She even had to have knee surgery.
God prepared me for this journey, and I didn't even know it a long time ago.
Commissioner Reece told me, go to Kinko's and print off a flyer. And I mean, this is the morning of.
People from all over the world will come here and understand the stories behind our legends and our icons. We created the culture. It came from right here.
Okay, we're back. Now, please get my music. Just music, not my intro. Get my music, because when I come back, we should be going into music. We're back. Alicia Reece Soul Food. I tell you, it gets a little rough, but let's go to the phones. We're talking about cancer, and there's been pancreatic cancer. And Aziza, can you make sure that when we go to the fireside chat that it works? Okay. All right. We're talking about cancer, and we've heard a lot about pancreatic cancer lately because the R&B sensation D'Angelo was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer and passed away at 51 years young. We do talk about that in the fireside chat that you'll hear, hopefully, at the end of the show. But I wanted to bring on someone because one of the things they were saying is that when you have pancreatic cancer, it is not meaning that it is over. And so it's a lot of myths out there. So when I was at the First Ladies of Health at New Prospect Baptist Church, I ran into the table called Pancreatic Cancer Awareness, and they were saying that Black men, obviously, there's not a test for it, but there's other screenings that can help you find out that if you have it. And so I wanted to have on someone that was a survivor. I met one at at our cancer awareness, state of cancer awareness caucus. And one of the things that um, she indicated was that she was there to make sure that people know that you can fight it. And so I wanted to have someone on our show today that has been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, has fought it, and talk a little bit about it, because a lot of people now are like, well, what's going on? D'Angelo's gone. He's only 51. This cancer is it's on everybody's mind, younger people's minds. I was talking on another radio show with some of the hip hop folks, and they were like, wow, I just, didn't know this. So wanted to bring on Brother Elder David Relaford. He's the 35th, 4th District Representative of Omega Psi Phi, President and CEO of Cornerstone Companies. And the Omegas are coming to Cincinnati for their national convention next year. And they're going to bring a whole lot of Black men that will be coming here. But I wanted to have you on. Brother Elder David, are you there? We are trying to hear you. Yeah, I don't know what the feedback is there on the radio. I can hear you now. Yeah, let's try. Wow, 30 years. Um, Now so they caught it early because of the chest scan, right? Wow. And so now what happens now? I mean, are you um talking to people about this because they're saying this is kind of a silent, you know, killer. Right. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Well, I know you guys are coming with your convention that will be coming to town, and we're looking forward to it. And I know that you all do a lot with men's health because that was a big deal in terms of men not being able to, uh, you know, get checked early enough. And yours obviously was a blessing to be able to get caught in time. And I'm hearing that that's a difficult one because there is no real screening for it. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate you sharing your testimony, and we look forward to seeing you and all of the brothers of Omega Psi Phi when they come to Cincinnati, Ohio next year. Wow. Yeah, that was a great victory. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate you sharing your story and being on Alicia Reece Soul Food. Okay, guys, we've had a lot of technical difficulties today. Let's just get to the fireside chat, and that'll probably help me so my blood pressure can stay down. All right, we're going to go to the fireside chat from the breast cancer awareness. Fingers crossed it'll work. To those who are on social media who can't hear us, hopefully we'll get that fixed. All right, we're going to go to the fireside chat.
Higher than
Hot and
the
heavy.
national average. We've got questions. I'm going to ask everybody to just go around, briefly introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are. Beta, you're going to pass that mic on that side. Get this mic on.
All right, thanks. My name's Grant Mussman. I'm a pediatrician and commissioner of health for the city of Cincinnati.
Good morning, Greg Kesterman, Health Commissioner for Hamilton County Public Health.
Keith Melvin with Mercy Health.
Dr. Beth Shaughnessy at UC.
Make sure that's working.
Beth Shaughnessy. Beth Shaughnessy at UC. I'm currently the Cancer Survivorship Director, previous breast surgeon and cancer survivor.
Okay, we're going to start off with this Rates are higher than the national average. We've got questions. I'm going to ask everybody to just go around, briefly introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are. Beta, you're going to pass that mic on that side, and then get this mic on this side.
All right, thanks. My name's Grant Mussman. I'm a pediatrician and Commissioner of Health for the City of Cincinnati.
Good morning, Greg Kesterman, Health Commissioner for Hamilton County Public Health.
Keith Melvin with Mercy Health.
Dr. Beth Shaughnessy at UC.
Make sure that's working.
Beth Shaughnessy. Beth Shaughnessy at UC. I'm currently the Cancer Survivorship Director, previous breast surgeon and cancer survivor.
Okay, we're going to start off with this. Rates are higher than the national average. We've got questions. I'm going to ask everybody to just go around, briefly introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are. Beta, you're going to pass that mic on that side, and then get this mic on this side.
All right, thanks. My name's Grant Mussman. I'm a pediatrician and Commissioner of Health for the City of Cincinnati.
Good morning, Greg Kesterman, Health Commissioner for Hamilton County Public Health.
Keith Melvin with Mercy Health.
Dr. Beth Shaughnessy at UC.
Screening, and so every person should take advantage of opportunities like today and get themselves screened. In addition, we heard of a couple of precursors or a couple of health factors that can impact whether or not you are more likely to develop cancer. One of them is obesity, and another one is smoking. In addition, there's different careers where you are exposed to volatile organic compounds and other chemicals that can make you more predisposed. So if you are doing higher risk activities, if you're overweight, if you are currently smoking or have smoked in your life, I would strongly encourage folks to take advantage of pre-screening so that you can detect cancer early and prevent becoming another statistic and part of the mortality rate.
Thanks, Greg. I'll add to that. In Cincinnati, we have some unique challenges in that we have a high variation in mortality between our neighborhoods. And we know that there are some neighborhoods that are increasingly impacted by cancer mortality. I don't know that that's the entire explanation, but part of the explanation is that we have areas where there's a lot of potentially preventable death from cancer because of that variation, because of all the reasons we talk about in public health, barriers to care, lifestyle, I guess, and all the modifiable risk factors that we talked about.
I also think that people don't always know their family histories. They don't always talk to their families and feel comfortable asking questions of their families. And so knowing your family history is really important. You may actually need to be screened earlier than what is recommended depending on your family history. For example, if your parent or sibling had or has breast cancer, you may want to get screened at age 30 instead of age 40. So family history is important. And also, there's other things in the home that can also cause cancers and it's less known about, but radon, for example, and asbestos, and some of the older homes may have those things. So, knowing what's in your home as well is really important.
And we've talked a lot about what causes cancer, but we can also talk a lot about what can help you prevent it or reduce your risk. And one of the things I do observe of all of us over the time is that with time, because of convenience and TVs and video that we spend a lot of time at home, in front of the TV, in front of the screen. It makes it much more convenient. What we're not doing is we're not exercising. Exercise can reduce your cancer risk for breast cancer by 50%. If you do it on a regular basis. We're not talking really big things. We're talking about walking vigorously for a half hour, 5 times a week. And diet is also another huge impact because those foods that have a higher sugar content, and believe it or not, breads and cereals do too, are things that can increase that risk. So you want to do something with more vegetables, what they call the Mediterranean diet.
I've been hearing a lot about that Mediterranean diet. Dr. Melvin, what are some of, I know they said exercise and diet, but some of these things are hereditary as well. And because I know some people that were running and eating right, and they still somehow got cancer. So can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Well, certainly, Alicia, and clearly, and I'm a prostate cancer survivor. I didn't know it was in my family because, of course, like most of us, I hadn't even been asking any questions. And people have a concept in their mind that what you don't know won't hurt you, but what you don't know will hurt you. But I've learned now, Alicia, to exercise more, eat better. I've been talking to you. I'm Alicia's personal physician. I've been talking to you about the different kind of smoothies to eat early in the morning to get you a nice start. We should break our fast with the proper foods and so forth. But I just want to say that about our cancers, it's terrible in some of our communities that we have an attitude of not wanting to know about things. And so we avoid finding out. And, I have my Black and White Cancer Survivor Foundation, and we have our event that's coming up. But the interesting thing is that I've been all over the city doing all types of prostate cancer programs. There's some guys out here now that was with us at UC, where we did the Strong Men, Strong Future program. There were only it was at a beautiful place. We had food and everything. It was just last month. There were about 40 people there. 10 people were volunteers, and 29 of the men that were there were already prostate cancer survivors. So once again, we were preaching to the choir. And that's the disturbing part for me. And so we have to continue to keep pushing and pushing to get people to be willing to come out and get information. And then, of course, in order for you to impart information to people in the community, you actually have to provide food and fun and resources to get them to come out, because we just haven't been interested in finding out if there's anything wrong with us. And then the men, just the other day, a guy came into the clinic where we all are with my resident doctors, and he said, doctor, I am not coming back because every time you come to the doctor, they find something wrong with you. And I thought that's the interesting thing. I thought that's why you came. And first of all, if we find it early, clearly, no matter what the disease is, early detection matters. But it's just this concept that we have to get past. Now, I'm talking about the men, but I'm not allowing the ladies to get away with it either, because they have some of those same concepts.
Absolutely. So let's talk about how we communicate to people, because it is true. People say, I'm not looking for a problem. And we're promoting early detection. So how do we, as the song of the Wiz say, don't nobody bring me no bad news. So they go to the doctor and they kind of get nervous that I'm going to get something bad. How do we promote screenings? Because that's our call to action. More screenings. We want to make them available where you may not have to go into the doctor's office. We're going to bring the doctor's office to you mobily in your community. And then if we see something, obviously there will be more. But how do we communicate that? Dr. K, you talk about your stakeholders, groups and so forth. How do we communicate? Doctor's right. I mean, people say, man, I'm not trying to find something wrong. How do we break down that barrier?
We're trying really hard to work with the community. So that means going and partnering with organizations that are already trusted by communities. And so by working with them, and training them on how to have conversations with communities, they can get the word out. It can't be all on us. The community has to have buy-in. They have to be supporting it. We have Jackie Humphreys here. She is somebody that we trained early on, and she's been, you might have seen her in the community. She's at all these different events. She does it because she loves it, and she really wants to make a difference in her community. And so that's, we call them cultural insiders, trusted messengers. We need to have more people within the community that's willing to, speak out and encourage screening, encourage prevention, and just get the information. Providing education is critical. If you don't know what can hurt you, you won't do anything about it. So trying to get that education is really critical. And so our stakeholder retreat, last year we did it as a first time, and we had about, I think it was almost 70 people there. And we talked about screening. We talked about the different programs we had. This year, we're going to talk about screening again, but we're also going to talk about how research can impact programming in the community and how the community can actually impact research to improve outcomes for people. When you come into the hospital and you have cancer, sometimes research is a great option because you can get high quality care. You can get innovation that you can't get anywhere else. So research could be an option for some people.
I think that's important because we got to be able to communicate to people properly because they are afraid. I remember when the 513 relief bus came to Avondale for the first time, a wife brought her husband, but we had they needed parental assistance too. So he came for that and we were there and he was scared of needles. And then she finally convinced him because it was convenient. And then he ran out of the bus screaming, "It didn't hurt. Put me on TV. Everyone should get this." So breaking down those barriers are very important. Now, I host a show called Alicia Reece Soul Food, and we do break it down to collard greens and cornbread so people can understand it. Food for the soul. Let's talk about these clinical trials because there are myths out there. I won't say myths. There's history out there, and people are concerned, but you talked about we need more research, we need more clinical trials. That's the only way we're going to find out what works. Health Commissioner, I mean, what do we need to be looking at as it relates to, obviously our rates are up. We need to find out how to get them down.
So I think there's a lot of role for clinical trials in understanding the science of cancer. As a public health department, we're not so involved in the science of cancer aspect. But we do look at the community, and things we don't understand in the community are what are the specific barriers in each community? How do we link that to why people are dying at a outsized rate in different communities? And I think that's a big part of the research gap, is not understanding something new about the science, although there is a lot new that we need to understand, but also how do we apply the science that we know reliably across our entire city and not just in some spots.
Commissioner Castellan, food is an issue. Someone wanted me to ask, is it the environment? We hear about environmental ideas and so forth. But sometimes we hear it kind of like, we want to go green. And a lot of people say, well, green for me is greenbacks. But we want to go green, but we don't talk about how some of this stuff affects the food, doesn't affect us with the cancer.
So food affects so many things about our own lives. And I would, I know with the economy getting tough, I know buying food is getting harder and harder. But the more opportunity we take to buy fruits and vegetables and other whole grain products, the better off we are, not just from preventing cancers and things of that nature, but it does help reduce obesity, which we heard is a leading cause or a contributor to cancer. But it also is a leading contributor to diabetes and heart disease and so many other health issues. And so I would encourage folks to get creative at home, buy cheap fruits and vegetables. Not all of them are expensive. Something like a banana is not an expensive food, but it offers nourishment. Some of those processed foods certainly are not the best for us, even though they're convenient. You can toss it in the microwave and you can run out to your busy lives and get your kids to soccer or to wherever. That healthy fruit and vegetable is going to be a better opportunity for you in the long run.
I never understood why organic costs more. It's just too expensive to stay alive, but you're right. That's one of the things we also bring fresh produce with the 513 relief loss.
Buying organics is certainly a luxury, and it's something that not everyone can do. And I would say don't let that be the barrier. A fresh banana is delicious and it's awesome all the time, even if it's not organic. And the same for an apple, and the same for various whole grain foods. Organic's better in some instances, but it shouldn't be the barrier. You shouldn't not eat whole grains and vegetables because you can't afford it organic.
Doc, we just lost D'Angelo, and a lot of people on their Facebook, they're just younger people who feel like, he's just turned 51, but people are saying, oh my God, if it happened to D'Angelo, do I have a chance? Pancreatic cancer is something we don't talk enough about. I was with one of the ladies that deal with pancreatic cancer awareness, and she indicated that if you can catch it early, you can fight pancreatic cancer. But it's a myth out there. As soon as you get pancreatic cancer, it's over. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, Alicia, with regard to pancreatic cancer. First of all, we have been working hard for 20, 25 years just trying to dispel the myth that cancer is a death sentence. So I just want to start with that. Clearly, when we have developed so many screening opportunities for cervical cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer, colorectal cancer, and prostate cancer, we've gone a long way just in terms of my career since the early 80s. And still, we don't have a screening for pancreatic cancer. Pancreatic cancer, just by its own location in the body, is a difficult diagnosis. There really is no screening test for it. And in most instances, pancreatic cancer is almost an incidental finding where the doctors were looking for something else and they happened to notice that there was a problem and it happened to be pancreatic cancer. In addition, pancreatic cancer has not been easy to treat simply because it has not responded well to radiation and chemotherapy and the traditional types of treatments. And so I don't want to say that pancreatic cancer is a death sentence, because I got a lady that goes to church with me. She's been living 12 years after a diagnosis of pancreatic cancer. So hope is still alive. But pancreatic cancer is one of the sneakiest cancers that there is that we know of. And clearly, there is not a screening process for that. But I would say to you that if you are going and having any of your other screenings done, when you go to the doctor, that means you have access to having your blood pressure checked, your sugar checks, determine if you're diabetic, all kinds of possible precursors to different diseases. And so what it says to you is that when you're talking about preventing pancreatic cancer, it means you should be accessing the healthcare system and going to the doctor on a regular basis. And really that is where we make the inroads, because we're just not yet ready to have a screening process for pancreatic cancer. So let's just do our overall cancer screenings in our overall healthcare. And then if you happen to have pancreatic cancer, maybe your incidental finding will occur. I would say this for a person 50 years old, and I get it and I understand it. I had prostate cancer when I was 47, and I was a doctor already for 20 years, and I'll be honest, I had not been to the doctor myself. I hadn't been to the doctor myself. So I'm just like all the rest of us out here. But once I was informed and once I found that I had something, now I go everywhere on a regular basis and get everything done all the time. But what I'm saying to us is that we must be proactive and do preventative care just in general. And perhaps if you happen to get pancreatic cancer at 50, maybe if you've been going to the doctor, some other reason perhaps would have found your pancreatic cancer incidental.
Our final question, let's go to the survivors, because we've got so many here, and there's a lot that you go through when you get diagnosed. Now you have to make some decisions. And I'll tell you, even when I went to get my mammogram, one time I went to get it, and they said, we got to check again, because like you said, they wasn't sure if it was fatty tissue or something else. And I went out there, and all of a sudden, everything was so very calm. They've got the nice music, and I got nervous. I said, they're not as loud as they are at the doctor's office. Everybody's whispering. Thanks for coming. Fill out the paperwork. I said, oh Lord. And they put you in the I call it little closet to get, put your gown on. And I broke down to my knees, because I remember my grandma used to say, go to the closet and pray. And I went into deep prayer, because I said, man, it's a little too quiet, real calm. Everybody's calm. And they said, once you get done, go back to the little closet and someone will come and see you. And I was praying and praying. I said, oh Lord, oh Lord. I said, my family can't take this again. We lost mama, I can't. And they knocked on the door, and when she said, oh, it's what we thought, it was just some fatty tissue. I said, thank you, and got out of there. But the whole place is, I haven't seen anything that quiet except when I go get the massage. They have the music and everything. Talk about what goes to the brain of a survivor. Because I was there when the doctor told my mom, stage, I almost passed out. I was, I've been in the rooms when they said it's prostate cancer and we ain't gonna be able to, do this or do that. And then sometimes to the doctors, not my doctor, of course, but to some of the doctors, because it's a matter of fact, they said, well, they told one of my family members, well, you made it 70 years, you just should be happy, And I'm looking, and they looking, and they said, well, we was hoping we'd get to 100. I mean, what are you talking about? They said, so some of the younger doctors are like, congratulations, you made it to 70. Talk about the mindset and what you do for what goes through the minds of survivors when they are diagnosed with cancer.
Well, I had a little bit of a different perspective, in part because I was also a doctor, but I can tell you that really didn't help. Except I knew what the treatments were, and that's about it. Everybody who comes in who's newly diagnosed, it's a little bit of shell shock. And when people have high anxiety, and we all do when this happens, it's important to have somebody else with you there, because your anxiety, believe it or not, those hormones affect your memory. And you may think you remembered every single thing they said. Try to remember an hour later. You can't. It's really, really hard. So sometimes it's important to come with a little list of questions. You may not even have questions at first. At first, it's good to find out some information and then come back for a second time with your questions. Because if you don't ask the questions, you won't get the answer. There's a lot of information out there, and it's really hard to necessarily deliver that at all at one time. But it's also too much on the individual who's just been diagnosed. I think what we need to make sure of is focus on the important things. Do I need more testing? What are my options? How long is it going to be? Do I have a good overall outcome that's expected? We call that prognosis. And what do I have to do to change my lifestyle to help improve or reduce my risk of it coming back or getting another cancer?
Let me add one thing there. When I received the diagnosis of prostate cancer, first of all, I was 47 years old. Thought I was all that in a bag of chips. The only reason I even got checked was because I had a 31-year-old guy that was in my Urban League, African American Leadership Development class. His wife was in my class, and so he came to me for physical, and I did everything. He was 31 years old, but he said his father had prostate cancer, so I did PSA. Blue Cross Blue Shield, his insurance sent me a thing and said I was out of compliance for ordering a PSA on a 31-year-old guy. and I was, as far as the recommendations were concerned. But his PSA came back normal, was 2.7. I called Dr. Kershaw at the urology group, and he said, he's got a father with family history, send him over. They did a biopsy, he had prostate cancer. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. So in my own lab, I had my blood drawn. Hadn't been to the doctor. In my own lab, had my blood drawn, came back 2.7, the same number that this guy kid had. So I called Kershaw, said, you better get a biopsy, doctor. You're young, but you better get a biopsy. That, usually everybody's less than 1 or whatever. So I had a biopsy, it was okay. I was 45. At 46, I got another PSA the next year. It was 2.9. He said, don't worry, it's not moving that much. The following year, when I was 47, my PSA was 3.1. And Kurt said, we don't have to worry about it, doc. I said, you know what? I got a bad gut feeling. And even though I hated that biopsy, I insisted on the biopsy. And I'll tell you, it was November the 30th, and it was 1999. And it was 1:35 in the morning, and I was in my office seeing patients. And over the PA, they said, Dr. Melvin, Dr. Kirsch is on the phone. And I came out of the patient room, and I said, he's either going to set me free or he's going to turn my world upside down. And all he said was, Keith, I can't believe it. They found cancer. And I had this feeling that went from the bottom of my feet all the way up, and it seemed like it went out of my top of my head. And all I thought to myself is, God, I might not even get to be 50 years old. It was a tremendous nerve-wracking experience, and the impact on my whole life and being was tremendous. And it didn't matter that I was a doctor. It didn't matter who I was or who I thought I was, bag of chips or whatever.
He still thinks he's a bag of chips.
So it was just that kind of feeling. And I would say, I bet to all of the survivors out here, when they told you that, at that moment, it's a common denominator. It turns your world upside down, and you're just not sure where you're going from that moment to the next. It's a tremendous thing. Thank God, 25 years later, I'm still on God's wake-up list.
Well, we're going to wrap up on that note, on that testimony. We've got a lot of testimonies in this room. And as you can see, even if you're a doctor, cancer, cancer doesn't care. And it's so important. I want to thank our health commissioners. We're partnering with you all. And thank you. I want y'all to sign up for that shareholders meeting, stakeholders meeting before you leave, because we need to find out what is this by neighborhood. In addition, we have a call to action, We've got to bring people to get screened. And one of our commitments is we're going to try to have the bus and bring screenings to the community like we've been doing at no cost. We want to cut down the barriers because early detection is it. The second thing is we got to come together collectively. There should be more funds. Hopefully they don't keep cutting them in Washington, but there should be more funds coming here because we have the numbers that show the state of Ohio money should be coming down here because we have the numbers that are too high. And if we have the numbers that are too high, we need the resources. We need more research. We need more clinical trials. We need more funding. And we need to get together for a cure. That's very, very important. There's some other questions, and I know people have given me about radiation and chemotherapy, which is very, very tough. I've got a friend right now who has gone over to Africa because she has liver cancer and she doesn't want to do the radiation. They claim there's something over in Africa that they're doing, some experimental things, but we have to look globally to find out what are the best processes for fighting this cancer. So let's give all of our panelists a big round of applause. Thank you all very much. Now it's time to honor the organizations and survivors. We've got a proclamation.